Rush hour in one of the world's most densely populated cities. In the subway system, commuter chaos. Activists have blocked the train doors. Calling for democratic reforms and independence from Beijing's rule, the protesters hit where it hurts, the daily grind of Hong Kong's economy.
I have a meeting at 10 and it's 8 a.m. now. I think my work and meeting could wait, but our freedom, safety, and human rights are taken away, and that can't wait. So I'm okay with it.
Well, I think it's okay because I think the government should respond to the demand of the citizens. Otherwise, they will not carry out these actions.
The protests began over 8 weeks ago against a proposed bill that would allow suspects from Hong Kong to be extradited to mainland China for trial. The bill was shelved, but demonstrators are now demanding its complete withdrawal. They're also calling for Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam to step down and for greater autonomy. Lawmakers in Europe and the US have weighed in, many defending the protesters and saying the police have used excessive force. The Chinese government said that this was hypocritical.
What if you asked the U.S. police if there were a similar violent attack on the police in the United States, in Washington, D.C., or in New York City? How would they respond? I think everyone can imagine the scene.
Beijing has not addressed the protesters' demands for more democracy. Instead, it insists on a return to order in Hong Kong. Some city lawmakers have taken the side of the movement, saying Beijing is out of touch.
The impression of Hong Kong is simply fundamentally wrong. They're so far away from Hong Kong people's real sentiments.
The demonstrators would most likely agree, and they seem willing to continue the near-daily disruptions until their message gets through.
Well, for more now, let's talk to our correspondent in Hong Kong. Phoebe Kong is standing by for us there. Phoebe, why are the protesters now targeting the public transport system? What's their strategy?
For them, this is a kind of civil disobedience actions, which they put it in a non-violent way, which is pretty different from 2 days before we have seen the clashes on the street. And now they are taking some rather more peaceful approach to try to disrupt the public transportation system. They want to put further pressure on the government by increasing the cost of the governance if they still ignore their demands. So they are going to do it. And this is actually not the first time for them to block the metro lines, and they want to make their voice heard by putting the pressure on the government. And for them, this is absolutely something not violent. So they think that this might be less controversial if they do it in this way.
Now, security forces there in Hong Kong used rubber bullets and tear gas against demonstrators over the weekend. How are the police dealing with this latest protest action?
Yeah, we have seen violent clashes over the last weekend in Hong Kong, both in Hong Kong Island and also in the rural district Yuen Long. And police have fired thousands, if not hundreds, of shots of tear gas and also rubber bullets, also pepper spray and pepper rounds to the protesters. So apart from we can see the escalation of the protests, but police, the force used by Hong Kong police, they have also intensified the force they're using. Also, they're using more weapons to try to disperse the protesters. So we can say both sides, they both escalated their actions towards each other.
Now, Western governments have criticized authorities for their handling of the protests. How is this unrest affecting the relationship between China and the West?
As we have heard in the past 1 to 2 months, the Chinese government, they have emphasized and reiterated for various times, they wanted the Western governments not to intervene into Hong Kong issues. But As we know, Hong Kong is an international financial hub which affects the interests of the not only the West but also China, right? So that's why that is also one of the reasons why the West or the world is looking closely to the situation in Hong Kong. But as long as if the Hong Kong government and the Beijing government, they are not backing down to any of the or making compromise to the protesters, it's very likely that the protests in the coming future will escalate, and we may see like the tension between the West and the China government. This will intensify as well, and putting them in a more embarrassing situation.
Phoebe, thank you very much. DW's Phoebe Kong there in Hong Kong.